Today we are reviewing the Spot Mayhem. I've ridden the Spot Mayhem before at Outer Bike and I did a little review of it with plus tires. But today we're riding the 29er version. This is a 6-star build with the 140 Fox 36 and the Fox Float DPX2 in the back. 130 mil travel in the rear. This is the best climbing bike I've ever ridden. My Spot Rollic's very close to this, but this climbs even better. Got a steep seat tube angle. The front end does not wander. It's so composed. A little bit longer chain stays help it climb and stay planted. Those chain stays are super important to me. I'm a super short rider, so I'm very sensitive to head angles and chain stays. Head angle feels perfect on this thing. I've got a BMX background. I prefer riding like it's a slalom course and just charging and jumping and hitting every corner I can. I don't really care how fast I'm going. I don't care about my time. But surprisingly enough, this bike kind of makes me care about my time. It makes me want to go as fast as possible, up and down. If it were an animal, it'd be a cheetah. This thing is just a rocket. It's not a cross-country race bike, which would be even faster on the ups, just because they're lighter. But man, this is the fastest trail bike I've ever ridden, up or down. The suspension is incredibly efficient. The Living Link suspension is so efficient. The suspension design uses a carbon leaf spring that gives it its really unique ride quality. Living Link is an appropriate name because these bikes just feel alive. Man, this thing, I've never ridden a bike that corners like this. My Rollic is better at changing direction real fast, but this is better at just long sweeping corners like you find on most trails. And this bike just wants to be ridden at 10/10ths all the time. The suspension is nice and stiff on the climbs. It still moves when you need traction, but it does feel a bit more hardtail-like on the climbs than some other full suspension bikes. All right, I'm gonna be breathing heavy for a sec here. The frame is stiff, the frame is quiet, there's no rattles. The cable routing's fantastic. Has all these little bolt-on cable guides to hold it down. Fit and finish on this bike is spectacular. The carbon checker weave looks so cool in the sun. Probably looks flat on camera, but that was a bit of a climb. I'm 5'6", with a 28-inch inseam, 180 pounds. I'm riding a size medium. I'm on the small end of a medium. I could probably get away with the small, but this medium feels good. The front doesn't wander. I've had a little more traction on uphill climbs with something like a DW Link or an FSR or a Horse Link or something. But those bob when I do. And I would rather have no bobbing than bobbing with gobs of traction. Traction's not a problem, but if you're a sloppy rider or your tire pressure's not right, you're gonna struggle on the ups. Or your tire pressure's not right, you might find it a little bit challenging because it really rewards a good rider. This bike is a rocket. So quick. Spot has done something truly incredible with their Living Link. It doesn't ride like anything else. Closest description I can think of is it climbs like a Yeti and descends almost like a pivot switchblade with a longer chainstay. And that longer chainstay sure makes it planted and stable at speed. Makes it climb really well. But it comes at a sacrifice of being harder to lift the front end, a little harder to navigate around really tight switchbacks. So you kind of pick your poison if you want stability at speed and planted long sweeper corners, or if you want a short rear end, easy to manual, lift up the front end and goof around. All right, let's take it on the downhill. I think this bike is the perfect bike for most people. A lot of my friends buy enduro bikes because they make every trail easier and it makes them look like a rock star, and it kind of masks lack of skill. This bike can do that a little bit, but not as much as like a Hightower LT or a Pivot Firebird 29 or something like that. This bike really rewards a precise and accurate rider. But with the 140 fork and the DPX2, you can set it nice and soft so you can get away with some mistakes. But I actually like that it's not just like riding a magic carpet where it erases everything. Here we go. Bike corners so well. It's so well balanced. It's so planted. It doesn't manual quite as well as my 27.5 Rollick with 430 chainstays, but it's one of the better manualing 29ers I've ridden. The pivot switchblade and the Evil following MB are a little bit more playful on the downs. They're not nearly as good on the ups as this, and I feel like this is the more balanced bike. But those are more playful for manuals and bunny hops and messing around. But this is the better bike for most riders. So precise and fun. All right. I can't get over how well this bike corners, and the head angle just feels perfect. It's especially perfect on mild medium trails like this that don't have super chunk. But on big chunk, this thing still does incredibly well. Feels perfect. Let's go for it. Oh, this bike corners so well. So much fun. Woo! This bike is maximum fun. It feels like an attack fighter jet. You just want to rail everything. And when it holds its speed so well, it just keeps that momentum like crazy. It still manuals way better than a Hightower. I would take this over a Hightower any day by a long shot. Way more playful. What a bike. Spot, you nailed it once again. I don't like 29ers, but this bike is seriously fun. Oh, what a blast. All right. Corners, 10 out of 10. Jumps, 9.5 out of 10. Playfulness, like manuals and bunny hops and stuff, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, and I'd give a Hightower like a 4 or a 5. If this had 425 or 430 chainstays, like my Rollick, it would replace my Rollick. This thing is so fun, so fast. Thanks for joining me on this ride today.